Huawei has made an absolutely huge phone available in the US today. This is the AscendMate 2. It is a 6.1-inch screen with a Snapdragon 400 processor underneath, 2 gigs of RAM, and just tons of space to move around in. This is a massive phone that promises an incredible amount of battery life and some decent performance. And just swiping through, everything that we see here so far is Huawei's custom user interface built on top of Android 4.3. This is their Emotion UI 2.0 is what they call it. But the display itself is a 720p display. There's a 5 megapixel front-facing camera, a 13 megapixel rear-facing camera, and storage support for up to 32 gigabytes. Just taking a look at the user interface, the biggest thing you'll notice is that there are no launcher drawers. Like it's not there. This is the Emotion UI. All the apps are on the screen, almost in an iOS fashion. But nothing here is slow. Everything here seems to run just fine. This Snapdragon 400 processor is 1.6 gigahertz, and it is more than capable of just kind of daily sliding around, especially with the lower resolution display. And because it's such a huge display, you could fit entire web pages in it and scroll down and look around. But as we take a quick look through the rest of the user interface, Huawei's got more than a couple of special features here. They've got notification panel shortcuts that you can activate and move around. One-hand UI specifically designed for using the phone with one hand, and we'll get a little bit more into that in a separate video. But the big features for this Emotion UI are just very clean lines. Even the applications in the home screens, they all have a special little box around them, so none of them look different as far as shapes go. And in some cases, that's a little weird as far as box apps that don't fit the same setup. But there's a gloves mode, which allows the display to detect your fingers through, and a WOW, a wow button. This is kind of cool. It's this little tiny dot that hovers over everything and has just a couple of simple tools that you can activate. You can use it one-handed to use your home button and use your back button, or you can use it to launch quick notes or a couple other applications, and they float over top of whatever it is that you're doing. So you can drag it around, launch applications, and this will continue to hover over top until you tell it to go away. And there are 4 different applications that you can use this, and they all stack on top of one another. So you can use text messaging, you can use the calendar, there's a calculator, and they all float on top of each other. And whichever the top one is the one that has focus, because of the way that these all stack on top of each other, which can be useful, but I think could also be a little obnoxious depending on what it is that you're used to. And again, you can drag it from one side to the other. It's not going to stay in the center. It floats on the sides for you to use however you want. And there's a little brush in this same thing, and it causes everything to kind of swirl around, and then it lets you know that your system is now running in a more optimal condition. So it's not entirely clear what it's doing right there, because Android does a lot of garbage collecting in the background anyway, but it's kind of neat to see it there, and you can access it from the system tray if you don't know exactly where it is on your display, because it is really transparent. The display itself looks decent. I mean, you can tell that you're using a lower resolution display despite it being so big. Things do fit really nicely, and I think that the lower resolution is going to have a lot to do with the power consumption. So this is the Huawei AscendMate 2. This phone is going to be available online starting today in the US for $299, which is really cool. Thanks for watching.